We got quoted $500 to create a podcast intro, but instead of doing that, we decided to spend $20 on LED lighting for our podcast room. So now we have $480 left over. Better investment. Today, you're listening to Just 3 Clicks. This is episode number 2. My name's Joey, and today I'm with David.
Do you want me to... You guys spoke on the first episode, introduce yourself. Do you want me to do the same?
Yeah, so for everybody that's kind of tuning in episode 1, it was myself and the other co-founder of Viddyoze, Jamie Garside, but today we've got David Chamberlain. So, yeah, I mean, I guess just talk about who you are and just kind of introduce yourself, I guess.
Cool. So my name's David Chamberlain. We've got a business together, Viddyoze. Known these guys for a while, but my background is kind of... It's hard to say because I was kind of in employment for only about 3 years. I used to be an accountant, a CPA by trade. I was training to do my chartered accountancy exams, and in that time I kind of just decided I was on the wrong side of the table. I wanted to be the business, not the guy helping the business and doing the finances. So I guess really I'm just a kind of a career entrepreneur. Since I was 21, I've been trying to build businesses and running my own businesses, and that's kind of my background, I guess. I can do a bit of finance, but really it's just...
Yeah. You don't really like doing the finance stuff here, do you?
No, it's kind of funny. Because it's my background, I get stuck with it, but I quit that job for a reason. And anyone who's kind of had a job that they didn't enjoy doing, you might have been good at it, but when you can choose not to do it and you're kind of forced to, oh my God, it's the worst thing ever. We've employed a part-time FD now, but even still I've got to get involved, and it's not enjoyable.
Yeah. So I guess one of the things we talked about last time was kind of what brought us onto the online thing. So people won't know right now how you kind of got into it. So were you working in accounting and then started doing it at the same time, or?
Yeah, so I kind of so as I mentioned, I was doing my chartered accountancy exams, and that was pretty strenuous. It was like getting into the office at 6, studying for maybe 2 hours, 2.5 hours before I started work, then working all day, then studying for maybe another hour after work, and then going home. Yeah. I was single at the time, so I managed to go home, go to the gym, I'd go to bed, and that was pretty much... That's all I did. Yeah. It was tough, and then I got to my first exam and I failed by 1 mark, so I got a 54. I needed 55 to pass, and that honestly, I remember thinking at that time, I've invested so much time into trying to pass this exam, and I've got to do it all again. What if I actually put this into starting a business? And I was getting paid, 15 grand. That's pounds a year. So you're talking $18,000 a year. And I just thought, I can't do this. I can't spend another 3 months studying and fail again. So I literally just went onto Google and typed make money online. Fell into that hole. Probably spent, at the time I actually got some cash that came to me, about 5 grand. I spent all that. Then I spent another 5 grand on credit cards. Yeah. Trying to actually make money, and that's kind of how I did it.
It's pretty interesting, really, because with me and Jamie, I guess we were working in kind of sales roles, so our career prospects, I suppose, weren't as corporate centric as being an accountant. Because you probably could have, if you continued down the path of being an accountant, you probably could have become a financial officer or something like that.
Yeah, maybe. I think from memory, if I'd have qualified, which would have taken me 3 years, I think starting salary was £26,000 once you qualify. Yeah. So still not much, $30,000 a year. Yeah. And you've put 3 years hard work into passing your exams. And I don't know what partners are making, maybe 60 grand a year. Yeah. But it would have been 45, 50 maybe by the time I got to that route. I'm 32 now. and I think
Yeah.
I'm happier.
Made a better choice.
Probably made more money. I feel like I've made a better choice. Even if I made less, I'm happier being my own boss and being in charge of kind of my own destiny and being able to. I mean, business for me is about. It's not just about finance or just about marketing, sales. It's about bringing all that together and actually being able to jump into any area of the business. And I think, with my personality, with probably a bit of like ADHD in some respects, like short attention span, like I need that. I need to have variety in my day. If I don't have it, then it's a job.
Yeah. I think so. When you obviously like started, what transitioned you from starting to get online? Like what did you see?
So the first thing I did was I became like an affiliate marketer. So I used to basically what we got taught was find like a desperate niche. So acne, anxiety, depression. Like I know it sounds a bit
Weight loss and
weight loss. Yeah. People who are in a bad place or people who want to make a change. That's what they kind of taught you is like go after a niche like that. Get your ex back is a big one.
Yeah.
And then essentially find the audience and then find a product, promote the product to the audience and get a commission. So that's what I kind of did. I at the time it was weight loss I was promoting, and I was literally going to. I wrote a kind of an article and made a blog, and then I was going on to Yahoo Answers at the time, if people remember that, and I was posting a link to my website. So when people were asking about weight loss, I was posting a link to my article. People would then go and buy the product via my link, and I would get a commission.
Yeah. Yahoo Answers. God, does that even? It's like Quora now, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't even know, but that's kind of how I did that.
Yeah.
And then at the time, I was making maybe $500 a month in my job, so it was going okay. But then I thought, well, I stumbled across a website called the Warrior Forum, and there was this thing called the WSO. And it was like people had information and they sold the information. And back then it was like an ebook. So I wrote a book on how I made money with the Yahoo Answers.
Okay.
And then I sold that.
What was the book called?
I have no idea. I do have an idea. I just don't want to say it.
It's just because in episode 1, like me and Jamie, we said all our product names. And
I think it was like Yahoo Answers Cash.
Jamie had a product called like Phone Obliterator.
Oh, wow.
Or something like that.
I think it was Yahoo Answers Cash, but
That's not bad.
I did register a domain, which was cash-in-your-chair.com. And I remember at the time, I was like sat on the sofa in my parents' house. And I was like, I cannot believe this is available. Like, what a domain. This is, how's no one got this? I was like so excited at the time, but then it was available because it was terrible.
It's bad what experience teaches you.
Yeah.
Like I was saying in the last one, my first one was Road to Wealth coaching.
Were you wealthy at the time?
No, I wasn't. Didn't have anything. So that was that really. But so what did like, we got to the point last time where we were chatting about like you met Jamie in, was it Florida?
It was North Carolina.
North Carolina, right.
Yeah, so we were in Raleigh, I think, at a marketing event.
Yeah. So then we got to the point where we basically started talking about where I had basically just brought the idea to Jamie. Then I don't even know, like what were you guys thinking like when I even came up and said to you guys that I had an idea?
I think at the time we obviously knew who you were and we'd seen you launch products, and one thing we didn't have in our business was like everything we did was kind of like the design wasn't the best and our video, we didn't get on camera. So we were just like, well, it could be a good opportunity because you don't make software, we do, and you can make everything look good. And we didn't have the capacity at the time. So that's kind of the reason why we kind of, I guess, partnered up. And I guess the key there is like, you thought we had value with our knowledge and we thought you had value with yours. And that's probably why it's worked out and been a good partnership.
Yeah, it's interesting sometimes with partnerships because I've seen a lot of people in our circles and probably circles outside of ours where like partnerships don't really work. And I think they're quite hard to make work sometimes. Like,
I think it's We've been through a lot together, and it becomes more than friendship. Goes
Yeah.
kind of past friendship, and when things go past friendship and you become, I guess, like brothers in a way, that's when I think partnerships can last, because you can butt heads, you can have arguments, you can fall out, but ultimately you always kind
Just
of
kind of get on with it.
get on with it and
Yeah.
forget about it. And I think that's probably why a lot of partnerships fail, is because people don't kind of they crumble before they get through the hard times, and we've kind of gone through the hard times, and it forges you like closer together, I guess. And like pressure makes diamonds, doesn't it? So
Yeah. So like when we had gotten the when we had that initial chat, I think what had happened was like we needed to come up with like a spec list of how we were gonna, what the software was gonna do, and that kind of thing. So I think for anybody listening, it's like it's important to understand that me, David, and Jamie, we didn't have any like technical experience. Like none of us are developers, coders. David's probably the closest to anything in that regard because he's actually spoken to developers. So like, I don't even speak to them.
yeah.
So I don't know. Like how did you even get around to getting into developers and that? So if someone's listening and they're thinking, right, well, I want to build software. Like
Yeah.
how would you even start?
So we already had a developer, or maybe two, working for us in our other business. And we hired those guys from Upwork.com. I think it might have been Odesk at the time,
Oh yeah.
but it kind of changed its
Back
name
in the
to
day.
Upwork. And I went to Upwork and I posted a job, and the job just said, we want to take like an image or a logo, and we want to animate it automatically. So kind of like After Effects, but without having the prior knowledge to do that. And it was, I mean, I'm not a developer, so I can't go and write. We need to write it in, PHP, and it needs to have X, Y, Z. I can't. I'm just an entrepreneur, so I paint the picture of what I want, and then the only developers I can kind of work with. If anyone's not technical, you've got to paint people a picture of what it is you want, and you've got to have a developer who can kind of communicate and understand what you're trying to say and convert that into kind of tech speak, I guess. And
Yeah.
that's what we had, and we found a guy who he wrote the original thing in Ruby. Uh, doesn't really mean much to me. It's now changed to PHP again. Doesn't mean much to me, but
Yeah.
that's all I did. I just posted, this is what we want to make, and I left the problem solving up to the guy we were paying.
Yeah. I remember when you guys came back with the initial kind of MVP, or the initial thing that it was able to create. So for people that aren't aware, like essentially our software Viddyoze, what it does is it basically can take your logo, your image, or whatever else. You choose from a massive selection of templates. You upload your logo, and then your logo basically gets animated in the cloud, and then the software will spit out like an MP4 file, like a video file that you can then go and use however you want. So when the initial design came back and I saw the first animation, I was like, that's pretty cool. Like that it could do it. Like it's amazing that it done it, but it just didn't look great.
No, but it's a proof of concept.
Yeah.
I think we spent in total to bring the app to market, not including the copy. I'm talking about just product.
Yeah.
It was €13,000 at the
Yeah.
time.
Okay, so I've got that off because I think in the episode before we might have said 20,000. So
Yeah, I'm sure it was 13.
yeah, roundabouts there.
But
We'll call it 15.
Yeah, 15 for.
Yeah, I still remember that. I remember when we first started working, and I was I wanted to make sure you guys thought I was like legit, so I wasn't just trying to scam you. So I remember like I was like, well, where do I pay you? Where do I send the money to work on the app? Because I wanted to make sure that we actually worked on it. Because I'd been burned so many times before, and that's another thing to be aware of is like when you try and work with people online, one of the difficulties when you're trying to build a business is you can't see who they are. So I think one benefit we had is that we're all in the UK, and we managed to meet up when we could actually see that we're real people and we're normal people.
Yeah.
I think online sometimes it can be a little bit difficult when you can't see someone and you can't. It's harder to build a relationship, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah. I think we had the benefit that we were all kind of wanting to go in the same direction. pretty. I mean, the UK's tiny anyway, so
Yeah.
2 hours away, we can meet up, and it kind of helps. But you're obviously now up here anyway, so
Yeah, I mean, I used to live in London, so for anyone listening, like it's about 300 miles, 250 miles, something like that, down back to where I'm from. And when we initially was started working in the business, like I still lived down there, and the reason I hadn't moved is because I didn't really know what was going to happen. So I didn't know how big Viddyoze was going to be, how successful it might become. So it was just kind of like a guessing game, I guess. Like I was still trying to figure out what to do with my own feet really at the time. So yeah, we got to kind of like the proof of concept. The product obviously worked. Then what happened?
it was kind of we needed to improve it. It was, I mean, the first version, the first like proof of concept wasn't. It wasn't pretty. It couldn't be used by anybody other than a developer. All we did was prove the concept that you can take an image and animate it, but there was no UI. There was nothing.
Yeah.
So we already had a kind of a UI designer. Still with us today. So he set about turning that into kind of something that somebody could use. And then once that was designed, the developers then went to work and integrated the designs to the app. And fortunately, it's quite a simple product to
Yeah.
use. Like it's not like 100 steps and 20 different buttons. It's literally 3 steps.
Yeah. Yeah.
We did have a product prior to this, which was like a mobile website, drag and drop type builder. And that was an absolute nightmare. Like bug after bug after bug. And, you know, when you're a self-funded, say, bootstrap business and you can't afford to drop millions of dollars in development, it's hard work.
Yeah. I think that's probably why it's important to keep things simple, really. Like, I think one trick we got, probably unintentionally, with Viddyoze is that it does one thing and it does the one thing really good.
I think I read something, and I'm sure it's from the guys at Basecamp, and I'm probably going to get this quote wrong, but it was something around, it's not what you add to a product, it's what you take away. That's kind of what makes a good product.
Yeah.
Like, people want to add things and add features, but it's what you can take away from the product. So like, if you think about what we did, we took away the ability to change the animation. It was a template.
Yeah.
We took away the ability to change every single color of the animation. You can only change certain elements. We took away the ability to change the speed or anything. You can literally add an image, choose a color, and then render it. There's nothing else you can do.
I think that allows us to keep the quality control good. Like we still, like going to be completely transparent and honest. Some of the stuff that comes out from the community like isn't always the best because we can't control what their images look like, what their logos look like. If somebody has a bad logo and then they put it into the software, we can't make that part of it look good, unfortunately.
No.
So, we've tried in the past to solve that problem, which we could probably talk about in another episode, but I think one thing to take away from that literally is like taking away the flexibility isn't necessarily like a bad thing. I think our customers always tell us that they want more.
Yeah.
But by us not giving more, like they actually create better quality stuff.
The problem is that you've got to choose your market. So if we gave our users more control, we would be stepping into Adobe's market with After Effects. Now, do we want to go and compete with Adobe? Well, no, not really. It'd be hard work. We'd have to spend a lot more money. The product would need to change so much.
Yeah.
There's no need. So our market it could be anybody from a marketer in a Fortune 500 company to an electrician. There's a sign company right around the corner who creates signage.
Yeah.
They use our product. Now, these guys aren't animators. They don't have the technical knowledge. All they want to do is click a few buttons and have content. And I think that's what we allow people to do. And if we step away from that, then we enter a market that we're going to probably not thrive in. And I think if you're starting a business or you're wanting to, like, try and look at what you can do which makes things easier or take things away. Don't always look to add things.
Yeah. So taking it back to like, if it was someone new, Like, I mean, I know the answers now because we've done it. But let's say I'm brand new and I'm like, right, I've got an app idea. Like, so I need to get a developer. You mentioned Upwork,
Yeah.
but then what do I do? Like, how do I conceptualize the idea? How do I take it to them? How does it get built to that MVP status?
I mean, sometimes you can just use like a pen and paper. Like you could literally draw your idea out on pen and paper, take a picture on your phone, and that's how you could kind of get it across. If not, then you just need to spec out the idea a bit. You need to talk about what the end goal is going to be, but then all the steps in between.
Yeah.
So like I'm not a UI designer, I'm not a product manager, but I mean I can get my ideas across. And if you've got an idea, you could generally visualize that, and you can draw it, and you can add post-it notes and
Yeah.
draw arrows of what things are going to do, because all you're trying to do is get it to a stage where there's an MVP. That's like a minimal viable product.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be, scoped out by a UX expert who's going to make it, seamless for a user to use. It just needs to work.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. The product needed to work. And I mean, the first version of Viddyoze was, I mean, at the time we thought it was amazing because there was no app that did what we did. But
It's funny looking back because when I look back now, I'm like, God, it looks terrible. But in the moment, I was like, this is like unbelievable how good this is. It's weird when you look backwards. I think it's like that with anything though. If you look at your old haircut, like 5 years ago.
Look at the 80s. Like I see pictures of my dad in the 80s and I'm like, oh my God, like what was that? But at the time he said it was like a cool haircut, but
Yeah. Like even clothes and stuff.
What about beards, right? So 10 years ago, beards were like, who has a beard?
Yeah.
And then we had stubble, like designer stubble, and then we got full-blown beards.
Full beards, yeah.
So one day they will go out of fashion, and we're going to be looking back going, what was I thinking? But
I remember Jamie's video from like 2 years ago, one of the sales videos, and his beard's pretty big in that.
Yeah.
Pretty big beard.
I think things do go out of fashion, and you do look back at things and think, what was I thinking?
Yeah. And I think that just applies, like, as we advance the software, it has, the visuals have gotten more complex in terms of, like, there's more templates, so there's more stuff now. So it's like we've got more categories, we've got, like, elastic search, and we added an ability to, like, preview the animation. That was new.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily, like, a feature where it allows the customer to do something, but I think it made it more intuitive for the user.
Yeah, and as an example there, right? So everybody was saying we wanted live previews. So what they wanted to do was see a live render, so a video, an MP4 of what they had made.
Yeah.
Now our product makes video, yeah. So it makes an MP4. So what's the point in rendering a full MP4 to check if it's correct when realistically, if they just render the MP4, they can check it anyway.
Yeah.
So what we did is rather than render a full video, we chose keyframes. So maybe 4 or 5 frames in that video, which showed off each scene.
So like images, basically.
Yeah, images, yeah. And we rendered that. So what you get now is a preview of the animation, but it takes 10 seconds rather than 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So from a user experience perspective, it's quicker. So all our customers were saying we want preview videos, but what we gave them was preview images, and everybody kind of, they don't know it, but they prefer it. And I think Henry Ford said, didn't he, that if he'd have asked his customers what they wanted, they'd have said faster horses.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing. And I think if you're coming up with a product right now, an idea, you know the market, and you maybe it's a pain you've got yourself. Maybe, I mean, our idea came from you, but you had this pain.
Yeah.
And the pain you had was, I'm not an animator. I can't animate. So we solved that by thinking like entrepreneurs, by not thinking like an animator. We thought about, I can't animate, so I need to make an app which I can essentially use to make animation.
Yeah.
I think the benefit we've got is that we're not animators, and we're not technical.
Yeah.
Because we think about things like our customers do. And I think if you're coming up with a product now, an idea, then maybe you're in the same position, and you can utilize your knowledge and your experience to create something which is easy to use or that you would use yourself, solve
Yeah.
your own problem.
So we know how you would obviously get the idea to a developer, you go and get your MVP. Then I think where we were at that stage was, I guess we already had experience in terms of the marketing side. I think that's where really our strengths are. Like our strengths aren't really like the development and like making the product actually work. I think we were just trying to sell the thing. And
Yeah.
I think like that's another thing we really kind of hammered in the last episode was like focusing on the selling aspect of your business is like
Yeah.
so much more important than other stuff. Like Jamie bought a suit when he started a business and bought an office and stuff, which
Yeah.
kind of like doesn't do anything, doesn't make you any money, does it?
Well, what people tend to do is they go and buy business cards,
Yeah.
stationery, like branded stationery, like brand new pens, whiteboards.
Yeah.
People go and buy all this stuff because they think, I've got my own business. I see people say things like business lunches. Who wants to have a business lunch with me? Like,
Yeah.
people kind of like
I'm
play.
the CEO of my one person company.
Yeah. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. Like, I mean, I've been there. I've bought business cards like 8 times maybe in my career and probably given out 3.
Yeah.
But like, you feel that's what you should do because that's what everybody else is doing. But everybody doing that generally is probably not really growing a business. They're just,
Yeah.
appearing like they have a business. And I think we've always focused on making money. Like, go back to my first Google search, make money online. I mean, I wanted to make money. I wanted to improve my life.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we've taken into our business now. So when we come up with an idea, there's already a monetization strategy behind it. And a lot of
Yep.
people ask, like, when you speak to like investors or when you speak to other founders, they say, "Oh, do you take a salary? Do you do you pay yourself a wage?" And
Yeah.
I'm always confused because I'm like,
Yeah,
why,
like, why else would you do it?
why am I working? Like,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
working for that. So, yeah, I think,
I mean, of course, like some people might have a bigger, or not a bigger, but maybe like a different thing that fulfills them. Maybe they want to do something that's like more noble. I don't know what the right word is, but it's like,
I get what you're saying. But we've all got, I mean, generally most of the population have got to put food on the table.
yeah,
You know, I think you've got to pay yourself something, or you've got to have that unless you inherit a load of money and you don't need to, or you
Yeah.
sell a company and you don't need to do that. But I think I'm still in a position, definitely even now, where it's still important to me.
yeah, 100%. It's interesting as well because like when we talk about like selling first, like when we were getting the MVP product together, one of the things that I was really looking at from my perspective was, right, how do we take this product to market and how the hell do we sell it? Because in the SaaS industry, like the software industry, it's like a lot of companies, when they first start out, are kind of going down the route of like, let's do a free trial. And they
Yeah.
try to build up like a list and try to prove that the concept works and that. And we obviously did that quite differently.
I think a lot of those people have maybe been funded,
Yeah.
so they've had angel investment or, maybe a seed round, so they can effectively burn that cash while they build the product. But we've never done that.
No.
I've got no experience in going and pitching my business, and to be honest, like, I've never written a business plan, and these guys all want a business plan, and
Yeah.
it seemed like more effort to do that than it was kind of like doing exams. So we
Yeah.
just focused on making money, and I think if you focus on making money, you become desirable anyway, rather than going and asking for it.
Yeah, 100%. So what we did was we focused a lot of our time on kind of, how do we, again, like how do we position it in the market? How do we get people to actually sell it? And one of the things that we did when we initially kind of done this was using like the affiliate launch model, which again, it's a completely different topic and something that we can really like delve into at some stage. But basically what it means is we would approach affiliate partners, essentially what David was doing when he first started, just selling other people's products, basically. Like we would go and find people out there who were interested in making money, and we would say, look, go and sell videos, and we'll pay you, a percentage of the sale, basically.
As an example for that, so we've got like a video animation business. We could approach a YouTuber who's a videographer or an editor and say, look, we've got a complementary product to what you teach. So why not promote what we've got and we'll give you a commission? So that's the kind of people you would speak to. It's
Yeah.
people who are in your market or their customers or their subscribers could use your product.
Yeah, 100%. So that's what a lot of our time was actually concentrated on, was creating the marketing material, creating all those relationships with people that we knew would sell it. So then whilst that MVP was being built, instead of us going out and saying, right, here's a free trial, and then, we sink all this money in, £15,000, whatever it is, we put all that money in and then we basically don't make anything back. Instead, what we did was we put the money in and then we spent all of our time essentially getting a marketing event ready, where it was like, right, September 29th, 2015, we're going to open up the product and allow people to buy it. We've got all these affiliates that are now ready to sell it because we've sold them on the idea, on the premise of what the product is, got them excited about it. And then that's when we basically go and release the MVP version of the product, basically. Like, we didn't release like a fully fledged version. We only had, I think it was 30 templates.
Yeah, and then
in that
15 in
initial
the
product.
upsell.
Yeah, so 45 templates in total, and now we've got over, we've got like 1,500 templates. So if you put that into context, we literally started with the bare bones, like a skeleton.
And talking about like MVP, there was one template that we had, which up until maybe 2 days prior to launch, we didn't even know if it was going to work.
Oh,
so
yeah.
like,
The best one.
yeah,
basically.
so we had basically what our product did was take like a logo and animated it. But what we hadn't mastered was like breaking the logo into pieces and then putting it back together.
Yeah.
So we were just doing reveals, like it would be behind smoke and it would appear, but we hadn't actually manipulated
Yeah.
like an image. We hadn't broken it, smashed it to pieces.
Yeah, it was almost like we could basically have a video where the logo shows up in a 2D, very flat, linear fashion. Instead, what that one template did was actually spin the logo around in 3D space, broke it apart, and it really like brought the actual logo to life. And I think that's what we wanted it to do.
Yeah.
That's the one we were showing to all the partners, and they were like, whoa, like that's really cool. So on the inside, we were like, shit, we hope we can make this thing actually do this thing.
I remember like the celebration in the office when we got it to work, and it was maybe 2 days before.
Yeah.
But this is it. Like, we had faith that it was going to happen. We had the right people on the team.
Yeah. Well,
So
it would be an interesting time actually to talk about, like, we done the launch September 29th, and over that period in which we sold it, we only sold it for 4 days. And again, there is a method to the madness. I know it probably sounds ridiculous that we only sold it for 4 days, but there is a method to it, which we'll go into at some point. But over that 4 day period, we've done $450,000 in sales. So obviously the ROI on that is ridiculously good. But aside from the fact that we made the money to actually fund the business, that's the upside. The downside was that we basically built like an MVP product that almost wasn't ready to experience the amount of usage that it got.
yeah, we underestimated things
Yeah.
quite a bit.
There were a number of things that pretty much went wrong, like literally on day one, as soon as it started selling.
Yeah, it was. And once you've got a user base, you can't really do much. You've just got to try and fix things, and
Yeah.
it probably took us a good few months to get back to a product which was viable, I guess.
Yeah. Like, I remember the day, it was launch day. We were about 2 hours, 3 hours to go before the launch. And like, I think it was you, David, you said something about the servers.
Oh, yeah. So the way our product works is we have like a bunch of servers on AWS, and they would each kind of, let's say someone queued an animation up, it'd be 400 frames, and then our servers would basically go to work and render each frame, which each frame's a PNG, and then we would stitch those PNGs together. Now, we didn't realize that we had a kind of, we could only have 20 servers from AWS at the time. So we had 20 servers, but we needed like 80.
Yeah.
So about an hour before launch, it was like, this is not going to work. We're going to go down. The thing's going to break. And I had to basically call up, I think he was an account manager, it may not have been. And I said, can I request to increase our limit? And they said, yeah, it's 48 hours and we'll get the approval. And I was like, no, like this needs to be done right now. Like we're going to go live. And they actually expedited it. I got a call. They asked me why I wanted it, and they did.
Pretty lucky, really, because companies like that normally they're not gonna just nudge, are they? Like if you got to do something, you got to go through the proper channels.
Well, the thing is, if you go back, I was listening to the Netflix book. I think it was called That'll Never Work, and they on the day they went live, everything like broke after 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But back then it was like a server in your office, like you couldn't. There was no cloud-based products.
Yeah.
So nowadays it is a bit easier because you can just use AWS and scale up and down, and you probably forget that back in the day it was, much harder.
Yeah. It's just like that. I think it's a kind of, as we're doing this podcast, like we're only the second episode in, but I think one of the things that always kind of comes out from these is like going back on all the stories and things that have happened. It's pretty much just like we just done things like without necessarily kind of worrying about what could go wrong in a way. It's like we tried to do as much damage control as we could, but then we kind of just like stumbled forwards in a way.
In some respects, like we don't. When you're a kid, you don't understand like consequence really. You just kind of go through life and just do things because, that's what you're gonna do. You're not gonna think about, if I do this, this could happen. When we got into business, like especially in business, we don't fully understand like the technical side, because we're looking at it from like a marketing and sales standpoint. That's all we can do. So we can sell the shit out of something, and we can really do the marketing and the sales. But on the technical side, we're kind of like kids.
Yeah.
Like we just like, make this happen, please.
Yeah.
And we don't understand if it's going to take a day or a week, but we just want things to work the way we think they should do. And I think because you don't understand the kind of the consequence of what you're trying to achieve, you just do it and you make commitments and you push forward, and then you deal with the consequences as they arise, I guess.
Yeah. Like it wasn't just the Amazon thing as well. We had a couple of other things like the like when we were going to go and launch we were going to use PayPal for our payment processor. And one of the issues we kind of foresaw was that we're about to make, a lot of money in a very short space of time. And PayPal typically is not going to process hundreds of thousands of dollars in a matter of days without thinking, hold on a minute, something's wrong, basically.
Also, we've got to pay like a commission to people.
Yeah.
So we can't just like maintain that balance in PayPal for like 3 months and then take it. Like 50% of that was going out right away. So we got $100 in, 50, if not more, would go out to our partners.
Yeah, exactly. So PayPal basically, we were trying to get PayPal to essentially like underwrite the account.
Yep.
Like, so if they underwrote the account, it meant that we could basically process all the sales. But it was it was like hours before the launch. That was one problem we had, and it was like, if PayPal doesn't do this before 11 a.m., then basically our account's going to freeze and we're not going to be able to take any money. So again, it was trying to put that fire out whilst David was trying to sort the servers out. And then the other thing is our developer wasn't even there. Like that was another problem. Like the developer was like AWOL, and like
he was sick. He just basically, but he didn't tell us. He just kind of didn't turn up for 24 hours, and we just kind of had to deal. This is giving me palpitations right now. Like thinking back to this in this small room, like this is giving me palpitations thinking about this time.
Yeah, like I remember the one of the challenges with like working with developers specifically online is like, because you don't really get a lot of communication with them. Like they might be doing stuff, but then they might not be. And like, because we're sitting there like, right, there's a massive bug with the software. It's like not doing this. Is it going to be solved or not? And we're just kind of waiting and sitting, and we don't even know if it's going to be fixed or not by the time we go live.
I think the issue is that they can shut down the laptop, walk away, and they've still got paid, and they can shut out all the noise, and they're not in the support desk. Like, if I was going to advise anybody on hiring developers now, I would maybe, if you don't have the cash to invest, maybe bring a developer on as a co-founder or,
Yeah.
or a co-creator or on a profit share. I'd get them in the support desk as well so they can see the feedback from customers, because at the end of the day, they've built something, and if people are saying it's terrible, then they're probably going to be more inclined to fix it than
Yeah.
if they can just shut down the laptop and walk away. I think we were probably guilty of not including our developers enough, and we definitely didn't incentivize the original developer with a profit share.
Yeah.
So if we could go back, maybe we'd do things differently.
Yeah, maybe not. I don't know, but no, I think it was always really challenging with that particular initial developer that we started with, because I always just like, my mindset is always just like, right, I need to know what's happening. Like I've got a control issue where it's like,
Yeah.
I need to know what's happening next so that everything's safe, everything's fine. But he would just like not say anything. So it's like we're about to like launch this business, and we were making sales. We were making hundreds of thousands of dollars a day, but on the inside, I was just like so concerned that the app wasn't working the way it should. Developer's not there. Like our server build, we don't even know what it's going to be yet, because we don't even know what's happening with Amazon. There's so many like variables of things that could go wrong and did go wrong, to be fair.
Yeah. 1 month we got a server built at like 65 grand.
Yeah.
So that was pretty bad.
Yeah. You got the call like when you're in bed, right?
Yeah, it was like 8 a.m. and I got a call, and I thought maybe I should answer the call. So I did, and the guy said, I'm calling from Amazon and AWS, and your card's been declined. And I was like, how? Like, there's enough cash in the bank. And it turned out that I think our bank had fraud checked it, because it was $65,000.
Yeah.
And I remember just feeling sick. Like I got off the phone. In fact, I put the phone down. When he said the number, I just hung up. And I think I messaged you guys saying we've got a problem. So this is what I'm talking about when we say like the consequences to, like, we didn't understand like the consequences to what we were doing. We were just so focused on making money and driving new people into the business that things like that happen. Like we managed to pay it and maintain the business, but you've then got users saying, "Oh, you guys need to spend more money on servers. You need to increase speed," and then you get angry because you're like, "No, like you don't understand what we're doing." So the early days were pretty interesting because you take everything quite personally, I would say.
Well, we were so close to support. We were so close to the customers, and like, I'm not saying that we don't listen to what they say now, but what it was when you initially start your business, as you probably know if you're doing that yourself, like you're the person that responds to customers. You're the person that answers all your support tickets. So you see everything. You see the good things, which make you feel okay, but when you see the bad things, it literally boils you inside, because all you really care about is actually making a good product, giving a good service. But your customers think, well, no, you're not. You're like an evil prick that's basically ran away with my money, and that's pretty much like how it feels. And you're like, well, no, that's not the case. So you're just trying to like prove yourself. But
yeah, and I think when you're not a developer and you've got a tech product, that is probably the hardest thing, because as Joey mentioned, he's like a control freak, and me too. I'm the same. Like if I'm not in control of a situation, like I cannot handle it. And because we can't code, that is the one area of our business where it's pretty difficult, because we know what we want to make, we just can't do it. So like now we've got a great development team. If they're listening to this right now, then you're just okay. But they are they are great at the minute. So it's fine. But back then, it was tough.
Yeah, 100%. I think the takeaway really is having especially when you're brand new, you just got to have a bit of a relentless approach to how you do shit, I think. Because things are always going to go wrong, no matter how much you try to like plan it. There's always something that's going to go wrong, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you've always got to have problems. Like if you don't have a problem, you'll find one. It's going to happen. It just depends how you. I mean, you've got to deal with it. You've got to push through and just progress. Like, we've been through so much, things that have probably almost broken us, like, personally as a business. Like, it's been really tough, but you come through it, and it's what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I guess that's, as an entrepreneur, like, go back 10 years as an example. I had to sack somebody, and I was so scared to do it.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do it, and I avoided it for months and months and months. But now, if someone needs to be sacked and there's a legitimate reason, then I don't really mind doing it, because I've done it so many times, and you've got the experience of doing it. And I think with anything in business, the more you do it, and the more things you go through, the more times you overcome obstacles, things just become more natural. It becomes easier to do.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying sacking someone's nice, because it's not, but I don't get scared about it now, because I understand why I'm doing it. It's to improve my business. It's because there's a bad fit. And the same with kind of, the product and the things you go through. Like, a 65 grand build now wouldn't be ideal, but it wouldn't scare me or affect me the way it did do back then.
Yeah, yeah.
The product going down right now wouldn't impact me the way it did back then.
Yeah.
Because we've been through it so many times. Like, and I think that's the key is, right now, you might be sitting there thinking, I don't have a business, or I'm just starting out, and, there's these major issues. But I guarantee in a month's time, a year's time, these issues that you have, they won't be there, and they won't be even that big.
Yeah. I think problems always change with scale, don't they?
Yeah.
Like, I remember when we used to worry so much about, it could be anything. It could be one of our affiliate partners has said something and it's rubbed us the wrong way, and then we'll spend a whole day thinking about, oh no, like, they're not going to promote our product now. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
And we'd be concerned about it for days.
Competition. Like, how many times have we concerned ourselves with competing products?
Yeah, yeah.
And most of the products we concerned ourselves with, they're not even there anymore.
Yeah.
But we spend weeks, like, what if this takes off, and what if, they take our customer base, but, we're still standing and we're still growing.
Yeah, 100%. All right, cool. Do you have anything else you want to go over? Anything else you want to add to this?
I don't think so. I mean, is this like 40 minutes now?
I've got 51 minutes, but we probably made a mistake at the end that we're going to cut out. So, but all right, cool. Well, that's episode 2. If you guys want to learn a little bit more about what we do at Viddyoze, just head over to www.viddyoze.com. That's Viddyoze. And make sure you go ahead and subscribe to this podcast, and we'll see you in the next one.